I had this thought about The Winds of Winter and George R.R. Martin because I saw an article. It's like nobody thinks it's gonna actually be released before he, ceases to live. Like, cause he's got really bad health problems and blah 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 blah, and he's old, and there's still 2 books to be released. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, I wonder if maybe after seeing the release of the audience response to the end of Game of Thrones, if it like really discouraged him to like release and finish it, or if he had to like redo a bunch of stuff. He's like, oh, they didn't like that ending. Because to my knowledge, when they started going away from what was already been released, he gave them a couple of things on like what he intended the ending to be. So like he gave them the Hodor thing, that backstory of Hodor and why it's hold the door, Spoiler. And that by the end of it, Bran would be king. And that, like, obviously Game of Thrones ended in such a wild manner that everybody was like, this is just not good TV show anymore. But a big problem was also how Bran became the king. And like, I personally was like, this makes zero sense to what everybody's character arc for the show is. Bran has had zero inclination or desire to be king. It doesn't feel like a character arc for him. And I thought it was going to turn into a more like each land can be their own like country type thing, Yeah,
like city-state.
Which is what it seemed like it was going for,
I honestly don't remember how it ended, so.
Well, then this opening is absolutely for nothing.
Wow. I just really don't remember.
I
remember my emotion behind it.
Your frustration?
Was it frustrated?
Or was like, finally, God.
It was more finally.
It's over.
Honestly, I
don't worry about this shit anymore.
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of like Walking Dead. Like, same thing with Walking Dead. I finished it just to be like, I finished it.
It was a chore.
It became a chore.
Yeah.
And that must be just what it was. Because the beginning, I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but someone was saying they never watched it. And I was like, I do think it is a show that everyone should watch.
The Walking Dead?
No, sorry.
Game of Thrones.
Jumping back.
Yes.
Jumping back to Game of Thrones, because I think it's just a really well done show, especially in the early seasons.
It's like middle, I think.
I like the early seasons more. But
when it feels like a Sci-Fi Channel original.
No, I don't think it felt like that. It's just when you're starting to get to know
with
everybody.
Boobies.
You're just starting to get to know everybody.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
And
then Ned gets his head chopped off. You're like, what the?
Do I want to rewatch that? No. I don't.
It's actually not a bad background thing.
Yeah, I could see that. Just kind of like while you're doing other shit.
Well, let's get this rodeo on.
This is Tommy.
This is Jake. This is Tommy and Jacob's mixtape. Listen here, brother. We're gonna talk to you about a movie today that came out in 2003.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is TJ's Mixtape. I'm Tommy. That's Jacob over there. We're a movie review podcast. We're two good friends that like talking about movies, and we talk about them, who made them, who's in them, kind of go over the plots and themes of the movie, and then at the end, give it a rating. The rating is arbitrary, but it's a nice end to the episode.
Yes.
But before we get into what we're doing, we do like to play a game.
Who we're doing.
At the end of every episode, we pick two randomly generated actors from Connect the Stars website and find titles that they are connected in. Last week, if you were listening, was Nicole Kidman to Viola Davis.
Viola Davis.
Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Because it was like this morning. I'm like, oh shit.
You pulled a me.
Yeah. But I like mine quite a bit.
Okay.
It's a fun journey. So Nicole Kidman is in the new movie, A Family Affair with Zac Efron.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Zac Efron is in Neighbors with Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen is in Knocked Up with Jonah Hill.
Okay.
Jonah Hill is in Superbad with Emma Stone. And Emma Stone is in The Help with Viola Davis.
Oh, we had one in common. So Viola Davis is in The Help with Emma Stone.
Look at that.
Who's in Easy A with Stanley
Stanley Tucci.
Stanley Tucci. Stanley Tucci is in Devil Wears Prada with Meryl Streep, and Meryl Streep is in The Hours with Nicole Kidman.
Ah, look at that.
And then the super easy one is Aquaman, Momoa, Justice
Yep,
League, Ben
there we go.
Affleck,
Yeah.
Suicide Squad. Viola Davis.
Yeah.
That was my first one, and I was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's too franchisey.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
I liked using Zac Efron
That's
to
a good
get
one.
through it, because it's Zac Efron to Seth Rogen and Jonah. It's like a journey of careers,
Yeah. Well, and I liked having Stanley Tucci in mine,
because you like Stanley Tucci.
and I love him in Easy A and Devil
He's a
Wears
great dad
Prada.
in DZA.
Olive has a boy in his room, or in her room. A boy, a boy, a boy.
Oh boy. Anyway,
What does that matter? I'm adopted. Who told you?
okay, it's not the quote podcast anymore. Sorry. All right, so what are we doing today?
Well,
why?
in light of it's now released to when you're listening to this, right?
Of the day.
Yeah, today when you're listening to this,
Maybe you watched it last night.
is
if you went to the midnight release stuff.
the third installment of the 28th franchise. Sure, I don't know what to call it. The Rage Virus.
Yeah,
franchise.
Rage Virus Fire. Yeah.
We thought it'd be cool since 28 years later is coming out
Mhm.
today. We thought we'd jump back 20 years and do 28 days later.
See where it all began.
Where it all began. And mainly a lot of it is because of that, but also this is one of my favorite zombie movies. Jacob hadn't seen it all the way through.
They're not zombies. They're just
And-
rage infected.
This movie was very pivotal for those that remember the zombie revival
Yes.
that happened in the 2000s to like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
10 years of just, there was a lot of zombie shit, and this really is one of the kickstarters for that revival.
I'm really, really, really curious because Robert Kirkman released the Walking Dead comic book series literally right around this time, and I feel like the Walking Dead is a really big also a revival of the zombie stuff as well. But it seems more this movie allowed for the Walking Dead to be made into a TV show.
Well, that's the thing, because you're talking about different mediums.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
for film, this movie really kickstarted that engine again
Mhm.
for the zombie shit. Because then if you, there's a very long list of things that just came boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom
exactly.
out after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
To the point where it got saturated.
Yep.
Got very saturated.
Like what Hollywood likes to do, loves to do.
But also, with saying that, a lot of really good ones came out
yeah,
after this.
Yeah.
But for those of you that don't know, if you're not versed, 28 days later, a quick little synopsis is: a man awakens in a hospital to find the world destroyed by a rage virus.
Yeah.
Specifically, that's why we're splitting hairs about it, because these are technically not zombies. It
Well-
is rabies on crack.
Well, even the director wanted to avoid using zombie in his definition of the movie as well.
Because they're not.
Yeah.
Because these are not. That's what makes it scarier, is that, in my opinion, at least, because the whole zombie eating thing, that is a very primal, animalistic feed,
Mhm.
thing. But this is these things just destroy to destroy.
But they are also eating them.
Are they?
Yeah.
They never show them eating them.
What are you talking about? The guy on the table at the end of it, they ate him apart.
No, they didn't. I thought they just beat the living shit out of him. You never see him even in the second, you don't see him.
Hmm.
They bite people, but I don't think it's not like a food thing.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think I was seeing biting, and I'm associating that with nom nom.
I don't know why. Nom nom. But yeah, let's before we get into the semantics of it, let's get into. So our director for this movie was Danny Boyle.
Oh, we didn't even go through year release.
Oh, we didn't. Sure. So originally released November 1st, 2002 in the United Kingdom, followed then with a June 27th, 2003 release in the United States.
And Sundance in January 3rd.
Yes.
Or January. Not worried about domestic or box office for this one because it's just so all over the place.
I mean, it made it. I was very impressed with it. Budget of $8 million and made $84 million back.
Oh yeah, and it was
job.
number 66 domestically.
And once you know that this movie, sorry, where is it? Sorry,
Just let it go.
it's right here. Let's stop it. Sorry, I don't know why I took it off. It was hot.
It's about to blow.
When it's one of those things, I only like to bring up the budget too because this movie does look pretty dated now, just from.
But it was a very purposeful
yeah.
shot system though.
But it's still just
Yeah.
But the fact that it was an $8 million budget made it way more impressive to me. I was like,
Yeah,
wow.
it was shot like an indie film.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And the little tricks they were using is
Yeah.
interesting.
And so how many movies for 2003?
65.
Damn,
Yeah.
43.
I was like, holy. I even went back and counted again because I was like, that feels very high. But then I was thinking about it. And I was
You're in
like,
high. You're
I'm like 13.
yeah, and
14?
high school's right around the corner for you. So
All I got is time, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So 65 for
Yeah.
me. And then,
And now director.
oh yeah, Danny Boyle, who I found fascinating with their filmography.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of those directors that really likes to play around with genre and like just do something different each time.
Yeah.
You know.
But Danny Boyle is known for things like Train Spotting.
That's probably
Big one.
what they got known for.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Beach, 127 hours. Have you seen 127 hours?
Is that the James Franco thing?
Yeah.
No.
That's a really good movie.
I don't like that kind of shit. Stresses me out. Sorry, I have a summer
And
cold.
it's a very stressful movie.
Sorry, is that about the guy that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chops off his own arm.
Yesterday, I've always wanted to watch that. Never gotten around to it.
It's cute.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And
Slumdog Millionaire.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's all over the place.
Slumdog Millionaire, I've seen, and it was one of those movies that I watched because I knew it was such a good movie, but I never really put any association to like director, writer, or anything
Who's in
to
that?
it. Dev Patel.
It is like a young Dev Patel, right?
Yeah.
God, I love Dev Patel. Monkey Man.
Mm-hmm. And then we have for a writer on this is Alex Garland, who literally just looking at the first two movies of his list, most recent movies, Civil War and Men.
He's got
I was
his
like,
theme.
huh.
You ever see Men?
I haven't seen Men, but I know the premise. Very familiar with the premise of it. But it's just very, I was like, huh. Put those two movies together.
You got this.
Kind of this. Yeah.
Well, and that's even the thing. I was looking at Alex's list in Dread, Ex
Mhm.
Machina, Annihilation, which is something I've been trying to get you to watch. That's that Natalie Portman sci-fi one.
Mm-hmm.
Men in Civil War. I was like, I like your stuff.
He also wrote The Beach, which was directed by Danny Boyle.
That's the Leo.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Trying to find like an untouched beach in Thailand.
Uh.
Yeah. That's I don't know if it's suspense, thriller, drama, what have you. I read the quick synopsis, and that's the quickest synopsis I can give you. He also wrote the storyline for the reboot of the Devil May Cry series.
The show?
No, the video game,
Oh.
the 2013 video game where Dante gets all like emoed and that stuff.
Mm.
What? Really?
Mm. I've never really been in that world. I do want to keep. I did finish that actually. Now I think about it. The show.
Oh, you finished it?
Yeah.
I couldn't get into it actually.
I didn't like it. I liked it in the beginning, and I didn't like the end. I was
Yeah.
like, ugh.
I just couldn't get into it. I need to finish Chainsaw Man. Anyway. Yeah, Alex Garland. Yeah, pretty much everything that I saw on his list too. I was like, oh, I think I really like this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's get into who's in the movie.
Yeah. So our lead is Cillian Murphy, who plays Jim. Cillian Murphy, most recently.
Not from The Office.
Oppenheimer, Peaky Blinders.
It'd be really funny if at some point 28 days later he just like looked in the camera and was like,
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins and Inception is kind of like the big things I've seen.
Red Eye.
him. I've never seen Red Eye.
I want to do Red Eye with Phone Booth.
Who is it Rachel McAdams?
Rachel
Okay.
McAdams. For that isolated thriller thing.
Isolated, stuck in a spot. What about a devil? They're in the elevator.
M. Night.
It's only produced by M. Night, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I remember watching it. I don't remember what my emotion
I got like halfway through it before I checked out.
Much like M. Night.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Cillian Murphy, he was starting a lot of indie movies before Danny Boyle brought him onto this. In fact, in specific, I was reading that Danny Boyle really wanted to avoid like people that were like really, really like had big star power for this because he wanted it to. He had this whole idea of like this feeling of it being like a reality.
It's a good move to do with horror stuff.
Yeah,
because even AVP did that, which I'm not saying that's like a great horror movie, but they also had that goal in mind to really get rid of that star-studded thing.
Yeah,
because that does kind of destroy a little bit of the illusion.
And so we have Naome Harris in this, who now we did a movie with her, Moonlight.
Mhm.
She played his mom, right?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty
anymore.
sure she played his mom.
I really don't remember. I do really want to rewatch that though.
And then she's also Moneypenny, the newest Moneypenny in the Daniel Craig Bond series.
Oh.
Yeah.
She was in Venom. She's Shriek.
Yep. She was one of the doctors.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Which one is she?
She's I can't remember what her name was. Where is she? I don't remember that character's name. Yeah, she's in. Who is she in? I haven't watched the new James Bond. What is she?
Moneypenny.
Who's Moneypenny?
Moneypenny is like kind of the secretary that, not secretary. She's like a Bond. She's like the Bond girl that Bond never slept with.
Oh, okay.
Like there's always that flirtation, but they never actually do anything.
She's Tia Dalma. Calypso.
Wait, the
Sea Witch.
oh, that's her.
Yeah, I didn't with the hair.
Yeah.
And I didn't, and the accent and everything. I had no idea
That's
it was her.
Damn.
Yeah, I had no
Awesome.
idea. Because she's such like a caricature in that of just like this, and then she becomes the sea god and has that wild.
That's in the third one, isn't it?
She becomes the sea god in the third one, yeah.
I don't remember the third one very well.
Her and Davy Jones were fucking.
I just remember that. I remember the cyclone
Fight scene. That was
Yeah,
actually pretty cool.
yeah.
Though. And like the ships get stuck in the mat. That was actually pretty. That was the thing, is that writing wise, those movies weren't very good, but visually they did some cool shit.
They're just a giant like Universal ride.
Yeah, like,
Disney ride.
yeah, quite literally.
Yeah, exactly.
Shocker.
Whoa!
Whoa!
Imagine that description.
You ever see the picture of Johnny Depp looking at the Jack Sparrow animatronic that
No.
they put in there? It's pretty funny.
I've seen the video of him being the Jack.
Oh yeah,
Sparrow.
when they first put it in, they're driving by on the boat. He's like, like it doesn't look like he likes it. Well, because you heard he's also like weird about seeing his own movies and stuff. He's uncomfortable with
That's
it.
a lot of actors are like that, actually.
He's real.
Yeah,
It's real.
And then I have just really quick to the two big names actors. We have Brendan Gleeson, who we did in Banshees of Inisherin.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the father figure of the
Frank.
movie, Frank. And then Christopher Eccleston, who was the 9th Doctor in the Doctor Who series, the first early 2000s reboot.
He plays West.
West?
That's his name.
Oh, that's his name.
Wait.
And he's most recently we watched him in True Detective Night Country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Foster.
And he's the horribly written villain of Thor: Dark World.
Still haven't seen that one. I want to though. It looks cool.
It
Visually.
is, yeah, sure. It is kind of. It's just boring.
Yeah.
It's not just a boring movie, which is interesting because it's sad. Really quick side tangent with that. It has some of the most important information leading into the Infinity War, actually.
You've said that before.
But yeah, and then I wrote down just quick Megan Burns, who plays Hannah, the daughter, in it. She hasn't really done much other than this. And then there's other people, but nobody that I really recognize because I'm not British.
Scores and then reviews.
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool.
So yeah, this got a 7.5 on IMDb, which I thought was pretty fitting, and then an 87% tomato meter and an 85% popcorn meter. I get it. Why? I think I honestly just like this movie I watched out of time.
Well, I guess we didn't do the off the. Did you like it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 I would much rather watch Night of the Living Dead.
I mean, that's fair.
Because, and I think really just honestly, it's like, I see what this movie did with like revitalizing the zombie genre 100%, you know? And it has like its own new nuances to it as well by like really leaning hard into like who is the real monster, the monsters or the humans, you know? But, I think just like the hype that everybody always talks about this movie, I did a pretty good job of like lowering my expectations to be like, let's just watch it. But at the end of the day, I was like, yeah, it feels like a reimagining of Night of the Living Dead in a way to me.
I mean,
which is fine. I mean, the movie is 100%. I mean, it's well written and everything. We'll get into it, yeah. But yeah, I did not like it.
Going back and watching it and that's always a risk that we have when we do this show.
Mm-hmm.
Is I didn't like it as much as I used to. Like I didn't need to buy it.
Oh yeah.
But oh well. It like is a really solid building block. Because then I was thinking about the second one, which I do think we should watch the second one at some point.
Yeah.
Because the second one has obviously a bigger budget. It goes from Alien to Aliens. You know what I mean? It does this kind of departure where it becomes really, really in your face.
It finds an identity.
Yeah.
Another identity.
And that has like a 6.9 or something on IMDb.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people don't really consider it. I think there's also the charm of what Danny Boyle was doing with filming this, making it look like a low budget indie film, making it seem more gritty and all that stuff, because it just became a little bit more
commercialized.
Yeah, well, yeah, it became 28 years later, or not years, but 28 weeks later. But this one, it's not commercialized.
No.
But it is, because all the fucking Pepsi
products.
Pepsi, goddamn.
You gotta pay for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Wait. Before we. What? Oh, that's annoying. Give me 1 sec. For some reason,
what happened?
The page didn't load. There we go. So on Metacritic, this has a 73, which comes to generally favorable, with 33 positive, 5 mixed, and 1 negative. Let's see. Okay. At the tippy top with a 90 by David Edelstein at Slate. This is finally the zombie flick as cautionary political tale and as humanist parable. It's not the flesh gouging zombies we have to worry about, the filmmaker suggests, but the soul gouging zombie within.
Yeah. And that's another thing, is like kind of thinking back, is like, I mean, it's not a new idea to the zombie genre, really, because like it has been around for longer than this. But it really, that whole exploring the humans can be the bigger, the worst monsters. I think this kind of brought that into a more common light, like more to just people got to see, it was now more common practice.
And then I think also with the separation of like a zombie thing is a zombie virus kills you and then reanimates you into a zombie.
I'm not worried about that.
You're not. Well, let me finish.
Sorry.
You're not you anymore.
Yeah.
This is a virus that is tapping in already into the rage that is man. Like even the little kid saying, "I hate you."
Oh, yeah. I didn't really piece that a little bit.
It's not changing you. It's just exploding that part of you that's already there.
Yeah.
And really putting it to the forefront. You know, even the little kids being like, "I hate you." You know. The only problem with that, though, is I don't think they did a very good job of exploring that.
No. Maybe do they do that in 28 weeks? Maybe?
A little bit more.
Okay.
That's why I'm really curious about the new one. You know, like
Apparently it's about rebuilding society.
Yeah, I was reading the synopsis about it, which I wish I hadn't. I'm trying really to go in just clear. For mixed with a 60 by Nathan Rabin at the AV Club. Like his makeshift societies, Garland's tantalizing setups tend to unravel in unsatisfying ways, which I thought kind of is pointed to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It does unravel in a kind of like, oh, well.
I found it amusing, like, right before they were going to find the, like, army base or whatever, I was brought up Walking Dead about, it's like, oh, yeah, the humans become the monsters. Remember in Walking Dead when they get lured to Terminus to the cannibals? And obviously they're not cannibals in this, but it was just kind of like, I mentioned like, yeah, it's the humans you got to worry about, actually. And then lo and behold, what did the movie turn into?
Humans are a problem.
Yeah.
And then for the one negative with a 30 and Hornaday at Washington Post, unrelentingly grim, unredeemingly gross, and unforgivably unattractive. 28 Days Later is an orgy of troubling images and bestial sound effects.
Wow. What was their rating on that?
A 30.
Man, okay. I could see some people not liking this, though.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally do. Because it really is that. Now we can get into it, because we did all the homework.
Because the sound design in this is pretty awful.
It's terrible. It's really bad. The music's cool.
Yeah, the music is really good.
The music really sets a vibe.
It helps carry the tone super well. It is wild how off the walls Cillian Murphy turns into like Batman.
Well, his whole
transformation.
arc is weird because because you meet him and he's like this, he's obviously confused and disoriented, and
I mean, he's our purveyor into this new world.
yeah, but he's all this, and then he like kind of like acclimates pretty quickly, a lot faster than I think you would, honestly. And then he's kind of like the guy,
but he isn't.
No, but
he is, but
he is like
isn't.
that joke about like going on holiday with your aunt because he has to go check out the burger place.
It felt like such a forced writing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying he isn't.
Oh, I thought you meant he didn't do that.
No,
he did do that.
No, he did do that, but he's not that. That's not the character we got introduced to.
And then he ends up being like full blown psycho.
Yeah,
it was very like, and that was even the thing too. It was like the 28 days later thing inherently is really cool because it creates that this is how aggressive this virus is.
Yeah.
Right. But because of the fact we don't really get a chance, because of the fact, this movie's like 2 hours long, but how fast paced it is, we don't get to explore certain things. And that's kind of a detriment to it because it's like, even then, a virus of this magnitude that spreads this quickly can fizzle itself out because it will kill the hosts faster than it can spread.
What?
Like, this virus, right, it is such a quick. This thing only took 28 days later to, as far as we know, just shut the UK down.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's all we know because of the island aspect. It might be this isolated incident. It might not be this. It is spreading, but these other countries might have figured it out. Yada yada yada. You see the airplane. You see all the stuff. That could kind of give you hope of something else outside of these walls.
Yes,
but like think of Plague Inc.
Yeah.
Well, if you play Plague Inc. and you get your virus too aggressive too fast,
it'll be isolated into a spot and then
it won't
fizzle.
spread. It won't fizzle out.
I mean, that's what that one dude is talking about. It's like,
what one dude talking about? Who?
When they're in prison, like stuck together.
Oh yeah. His conspiracy theorist moment.
Yeah, it's like
we wouldn't help.
We're under quarantine.
Like,
of course. This little island across the pond. Do you think they fucking care?
Yeah.
They're gonna shut every border down and just let it work out its work through it pretty much. And that's what you're saying. It's like the virus itself would kill there'd be no more hosts. But then the question does come, and I think it's interesting what Eccleston's character is doing is he's keeping one around to see how long it takes for it to die.
I was thinking about that. Wouldn't you just assume it would just take as long as any human? Because they're not undead. They're just infected. They have rabies. They're still just human.
Yeah, but we don't know what this virus is doing to, manipulate the genetic DNA.
Oh, and that was my other question. Actually, I wanted to ask, but I wanted to save it for this.
Mm-hmm.
Since it's a virus, and the virus is in the blood, if the host is dead, wouldn't the virus die? Isn't that how that works? So, like, when it falls into Frank's eye, would it necessarily infect you?
No, because I think the blood itself is still just contaminated.
Well, yeah, but if don't viruses need a live host? I'm
not sure. You would have to look that up because I think that even if someone passes away from HIV,
their blood's still.
I think their blood is still still virus filled. Is I guess the.
Yes, viruses generally need a host to live.
Yeah.
Viruses are non-living organisms that depend on a host for survival. When a virus can survive for an extended period outside of a host, it does not possess some of the characters required to be considered living.
But it might still just exist in the blood,
Yeah, generally biologists will consider viruses to be alive. They don't perform functions living organisms do. For instance, they can't convert food into energy, so no metabolism, and they can't live or reproduce without a host cell. So, yeah, I guess it would live for a bit.
Or it could just remain dormant until it gets into a host that can revitalize it.
Yeah.
We really need to talk to a biologist about this.
We need to start making some guys, We need a guy.
One of my coworkers is going to school to become a biology teacher. Maybe I'll ask her.
I'm actually going to start networking on people that are have specific skills. Be like, hey, can we call you mid podcast and just ask you questions about if it's something pertaining?
If you don't know anything about it, then that's fine. You don't have to answer. Yeah. But yeah, that is an interesting question. But I just kind of assumed it's like the blood itself still holds the pathogen. So as long as it
yeah. I mean, I guess I don't really know enough about it. I just felt like if.
We also don't know much about
dead.
this fake virus that was made up that can do things like this. It could be it's
probably very real somewhere underground in a lab.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Not to the extent that I'm thinking that this is, because I think because of now that we're getting, well, I guess now since we have 28 years later, and there's clearly ones that are still alive from the time like this, that this is it is a zombie virus.
Well, but viruses mutate too, so
exactly, yeah. So
that's gonna be fun. Actually, that I didn't think about that. These giant leaps in time, you can really play around with.
Because you got to think about it, it's like it could be a virus that all it does is just keep adrenaline pumping through you to like just keep going, and your
PCP.
Yeah, something like that, where like it doesn't matter until maybe like the brain motor function is completely done, or the heart actually finally stops beating, is when you will stop moving. But you could be completely malnourished and crawling your way around trying to find it's just like this virus is keeping you going.
Yeah.
So it's like it may not be as to the Walking Dead extent where like you get your lower extremities chopped off and you're still a crawling like torso with arms.
Yeah, like the very first zombie he sees.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and that's kind of where my grief comes from with this movie, is that like the writing is just kind of weird too, because it does that thing that we've talked about in the past. We always talk about eat the carrot and just kind of go with it, which is fine. I think that that's a writing tool that the imagination of your audience kind of take the reins a little bit. But what they were doing in this a couple times is introducing something and then just like that little kid saying, "I hate you."
Yes, I'll agree with that one.
Is very bizarre to not then inspect.
We hadn't had any other infected speak. The father, the priest or whatever that he first runs into,
gargling and
is just gargling, and maybe there was maybe there would have been some words from him. Yeah. Did the kid say "I hate you," or did Jim scream "I hate you" at the kid?
To me, it looked like the kid said "I hate you."
Yeah.
It could actually. The sound editing was so bad in this that it could have been Jim actually, and it could have been like that was his personification of the virus, the thing that killed his parents. And he's taking it out on him, on this infected kid,
which would make sense for him. He went in searching to kill something, maybe
to get it out of his system to act out. That makes more sense, actually.
Quickly see if you can look up to see if he does in that scene.
How would I?
Yeah, because it might be. I'll just like really quick Wikipedia. Just try to do the plot to that moment. The group reaches Manchester now, spotting a makeshift signal. Nope. Jim's request true. Nope.
Okay. Yes. Well. Yes. In the movie, 28 days later, the infected child does say, "I hate you."
Okay.
This is the only instance when an infected individual retains the ability to speak. Clearly, according to the movie-related online discussions, the child is heard saying, "I hate you." So.
Okay.
So that's implying, and that kind of goes back into what we were talking about a second ago about how, or I was saying this. This doesn't turn you to a zombie. This turns you into rage-filled. Which is a really interesting concept, is that you keep some level of your cognitive abilities, but now you're just seeing red. You're just in this forever perpetual state of rage. And that's an interesting concept. I mean, that's kind of like what Darkest Night did, the story arc with the Black Lanterns. They were all very aware of who they were, but they now have this.
I feel like it's erasing all semblance of who you are and just making you now a just rage.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. But we're having this conversation, but the movie itself didn't open a dialogue with us to...
And it doesn't. And actually, I do like that.
Really? I don't like that. Not that much. I want a little bit.
Because what it does is... And that's kind of what this is supposed to be. I feel like the fucking Batman-esque shit at the end is ridiculous.
He was using fear.
This is the Scarecrow origin story.
Scarecrow.
Now I'm running from Batman.
Fuck.
All right. Where was I? Okay, our perspective is through Jim.
Yes.
He is our main character. He is who we are supposed to be relating to. He is who we are going through this story with. We don't know the world. We only know what he knows. So, and it's a crash course for him to learn everything, you know? And he's getting taught by Selena and other dude.
Mark.
So, Mark, thank you.
Well, it's a crash course for everyone because this is only 28 days.
Yes.
It's a very everyone's in a crash course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we are on a crash course with Jim.
No, I know, but what I'm just saying though is that everything about this world we don't know a lot.
He's also still a couple steps behind Crash Course.
Yeah.
Because he's been in a coma for 28 days.
Yeah.
So there's still, I mean, like Selena and Mark, they're still on a crash course trying to figure shit out, but they already know you have 10 to 20 seconds before somebody starts to try to kill you. So if you see them infected, you just got to kill them.
Which she proves very adamantly.
Mm-hmm. There's like little things like that. So we are learning the rules of the world. And so if this whole story is through essentially the lens of Jim, unless we flat out have something like at the military with Eccleston and whatnot, you know, they explain more of it, which then can be spoon feeding. We shouldn't know anything more about what this virus does. We shouldn't know anything more than what is given to Jim.
No, but that's what I'm saying though, is that you don't have to spoon. I'm not saying spoon feed. You just make more instances like that. When you first meet the priest, have him mumbling something.
Okay, so to track the I hate the kid saying I hate. That's just a bad oversight, you know.
Well, but no, that also to me says there's stuff on the cutting room floor that just didn't make it.
Very possible. Yeah. Well, did you know there's like 4 different endings to this movie?
Yeah, I was reading.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
I like the other. I think that
him dying would
make more sense.
Yeah. Yes, and the one that we did get, I think, is more of like a happy ending, you know.
Yeah.
But also does make sense too.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I just think that.
I think the only thing that doesn't make sense about that is that I guess Naome it is revealed that maybe she is a chemist, or maybe she was just joking about that part.
I think that she was some kind of
so she might have some type of medical knowledge of how to remove a bullet out of his gut and save him.
And with that though, it totally depends on where
and antibiotics to help keep him alive, possibly.
Well, and that's the one good thing about if a zombie apocalypse kind of thing happens, something like this is beneficial because it's so quick that there's not a lot of time to pilfer through and pillage and steal stuff.
Huh?
So this whole thing happened in 28 days.
Oh, I thought you were talking about him getting shot.
No. Like, so there's probably a lot of resources still sitting around because everybody got wiped the fuck out.
That supermarket they went to.
Yeah, they had electricity.
They had electricity. That's not supposed to be there.
Oversight. No, but yeah, that's what I mean. I'm not saying sit there and have the Commander West or whatever be like, and then on day 5, you know. But like this, just little things like have a
more consistency in what we're getting from our infected.
Yeah, just to know like
we get the most consistent of it all with them just like running at you and like because even like the ones at the end seem to have a little bit more intelligence than a lot of the other ones that we ran into.
Well, but that's the thing is that then
or
you could even like start making. Well, he has more sentience because he got infected when he was a child, so that changed. Blah, blah, blah. But I mean, that's what made the crazies creepy was the aspect that they were still them.
Yes,
they just didn't give a shit and wanted to murder you. And that was just kind of my big thing.
And
that's the thing though. Is just I mean, obviously I was 13 or whatever. I just remember this movie being a lot scarier. This movie's creepy. It's not very scary.
Yeah.
It's pretty creepy though.
And kind of going back to what I was saying, like the reason why what I liked is I feel like we didn't get enough and we didn't get a lot of information because they did a really good job of having us be in the shoes, feeling like we're in the shoes of Jim.
Yeah. What would you do waking up at a hospital bed like this?
And then the entire final act, and
that's my favorite part, to be honest.
It's one of the more interesting parts of the entire movie, obviously, because the how he escapes them and then releases the infected on them to use as a weapon, pretty much. But it's just like his whole ability to sneak around just gets a little bit, eat the carrot, little ridiculous. Like it's like all of a sudden he turns into a fucking
superhero.
Yeah.
He turns into Batman.
Yeah. Literally, legitimately, pretty much.
Yeah, like I'm in the shadows. Well, the thing I always kind of knew this. You know how sometimes you'll be watching something and it just clicks differently. Like you knew it, but then it just
Yeah.
I don't know, one last synopsis clicks in. Sorry.
Stop apologizing. Just exist.
It's getting more and more congested because it's cold in here.
Mm-hmm.
Something I really liked, and again, I just felt like we could have. I don't know what didn't really think about what we could have done with it more, but I was thinking that whole parable of him fucking that dude up,
Oh yeah, when he's like
murdering that
like
guy,
squeezes his like eyes
eyes
in and shit.
out of his socket. You know, like he is murdering this dude with his bare hands, and then Selena standing there and sees him as an infected. I thought was so cool.
Oh yeah,
that just that shot, and he's standing there in blood, breathing heavily. You know.
and she isn't.
And she's like going for him. I just thought that, and it just never clicked. I was like, oh yeah, this is the message of the movie right here in this 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Is the monster within. And that's when I had the thought of like, oh, it's showing us this virus just awakens this in you and makes it the forefront of your being, of who you are.
Well, and then it's, I mean, not only that, but then the parable of like, you know, all of the military men and their extreme fucking like woman.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thing of like when Eccleston's like, I promised them women. And he's not even just backing off. He's like, maybe I made a mistake. This isn't the right thing. He's like, nope, these women are now just going to be our fucking toys.
Yeah, they're our breeders now.
Yeah, and it's so that is a whole kind of different kind of monster. Some kind of different kind of monster.
Well, it's under
this.
It's under this guy is this salvation. Is
Yeah.
the word they use of perpetuating the species.
Yeah, exactly.
To rebuild, you know.
And there's always some fucking crazy person that's all like, we need the women to do it.
Well, and I think that for this story, it was good writing because West seems to really believe that.
Yeah.
And then our other villain, the other soldier guy, is a sexual predator.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, they all kind of turn into him.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, West has this delusion, this grandioso idea that he's going to be the savior of the species with this plan. You're like, okay.
Yeah, this movie was 30 seconds away to going to like last door on the left.
Yeah, it was. I was actually really surprised too. I thought we were going to get a lot more of that, but they fucking ended it like pretty.
Yeah, no,
quick.
It's a gross sentiment, obviously, but obviously there's going to be people that will be doing that, especially in this time era of 2003.
Yeah.
But like it. And also, what's interesting about this movie is like, I feel like watching it now in 2025, so much of it feels tropey. When I bet when this came out, a lot of it felt so original.
I was gonna say though, but you have to, and I think it's a good lesson for this show in general is that at the time, especially because I saw it when it came out, this was kind of crazy. Some of the stuff they were doing, and this is what revitalized. This came out, and everyone was like, that's a good idea. And then they started,
It's kind of like that whole thing of, my friend wanting to watch The Birds and then watching The Birds. I mean, like, this is boring. It's like, well, this is what started all of these horror tropes that we don't, Hitchcock started these things,
Yeah, like that whole, who is the true monster thing.
Yeah.
If you jump back before, it was the zombies. The zombies were the monsters, and we need to survive.
Well, not necessarily, because even Night of the Living Dead is covering
the OG one.
Yeah,
I don't remember it covering that very much.
It's not as
poignant
or as like explicitly explored with the military men versus them.
Well, so then let's keep it in the context because that was the main.
But that is it is still at the very end of Night of the Living Dead. It is still a big part.
But yeah, but would you say that? Okay, let's say 80% of it is the zombies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then we go into this era of the let's just say the infected, not zombies, the infected.
Yeah.
Because you have Dawn of the Dead remake, same thing. A lot of that is the monster within.
Yeah. Are you?
But you feel it feels like it needs to get said. Say.
Well,
say.
So looking at just like the evolution of like just like literature in general, what we have here is like this difference between like modernism and postmodernism, where modernism is this whole idea of like man versus the elements, man versus something that they can't control, while postmodernism is man versus man.
Yeah.
So we have like the earlier idea of like the Night of the Living Dead, where it still has a little bit of a postmodern turn. It's about man versus the monster that it can't control. Where then we have 28 Days Later, where it's man versus the monster can't control, plus itself, what itself it can't, and then other men, and it's internal conflict.
Well, but that just became
It's an evolution of writing.
Well, yeah, because even I was just looking at this list really quick, because even infection films such as Cabin Fever, that very much becomes
that's man versus the element.
Well, no, because they start turning on each other. Their fear gets the better of them, and they start.
I guess, yeah, but so they.
I Am Legend. His isolation is the greatest enemy that he faces. Besides, there is a lot of.
Oh, that's a very modern book in general. Modernist sci-fi.
When did the book come out?
I want to say like 1950s.
Nice, 1954. There is this one called The Night Eats the World, which is, I just think, a great title. It's a French zombie movie. I want to watch that. I'm going to bookmark that. But it's like, that's just it. This movie, I think, really, and the fact that it did revitalize this whole thing, and it is funny to jump back to look at it and be like, God, this is really tropey. And you're like, well, no, it wasn't.
It
what
is,
also,
but it isn't.
What also really fucked it up, in my opinion, this whole genre is The Walking Dead. Because The Walking Dead, in my opinion, overstayed its welcome. Because of also the fact of we really quickly leaned into the species known as man, humankind, is the greatest threat to humankind.
I, in a quick little rebuttal, don't think it overstayed its welcome. I think it tried to turn it because if it would have followed the comics a lot more accurately, it wouldn't have ran as long, and you would have had more interesting characters coming through, like Alpha and the whole the Whispers. Much cooler storyline in the comics. Much cooler storyline where like Carl almost gets like involved with them. I think Rick does die at some point, like officially. That's the thing, is like they saw when Kirkman ended Walking Dead in 2019, there was just a big like this thought of like, well, there's so much more of this world that we as a showrunner can explore, and these characters everybody loves, we want to keep them around. So essentially, The Walking Dead just became its own villain.
It's overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, but
then you had the spin-offs and
but what I'm saying is like if they would have followed it, again, it's overstayed as well. But if they would have followed the comics, it would have like just been a lot more interesting.
That's how it usually goes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
but it's just and that's what I mean about like with The Walking Dead is like that. Like our first example is actually pretty early on. Shane.
Yeah.
Shane becomes the evil within. Representation
of the evil within man.
Thank you. And then they just kind of just kept going with it, and it just made it. I don't know. And this is all looking back, just made it very not interesting.
Yeah.
The governor and the Negan. And
well, the
Alpha,
whole
Beta,
the Shane one is a lot more Shakespearean because it's like brother versus brother.
Yeah, the Shane one was interesting though because you got a lot of time to watch his descent.
Yeah.
Into this man,
and then
and also you saw him trying to fight it. You did see him
Mm-hmm.
actively trying to push away from it, and then finally just kind of giving into the darkness, and that just made it inherently more interesting.
Yeah. And then with the governors, like the governor is the beginning of something kind of interesting because it's then they're introducing what if a rebuilt society did exist, but what if it was ran by a psycho? Yeah. And then the saviors that's their own thing. But we're not talking about The Walking Dead. We're talking about 28 Days Later.
We're talking about the zombie trope.
We could have an entire podcast episode just really dissecting Walking Dead and the pros and cons of that, actually.
Another one on this list is Warm Bodies. I forgot about that movie.
I mean, I still never seen that all the way
Really?
through. Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, okay. We've really side tangent out of 28 Days Later. So what are I feel like we should just move into final thoughts and then
thought it was good. I thought it was pretty suspenseful. My biggest cons are
the use of Dutch angles.
God. The sound. Editing was just terrible. It was one of those you had to keep turning it up, turning it down, turning it up, turning it down because the talking was, and I feel like that was very on purpose.
Was down here like this, and then all of a sudden,
that was brutal. And I just think that it brought up some points that were very interesting, but we didn't really dive into them enough.
Like what? What do you mean? Oh, like in the actual like
in the film,
in the
like
film
as the
itself,
audience member, there wasn't enough dialogue with us.
because I feel like I feel that's what the entire message of what this movie is because at first I remember at the very beginning when he wakes up, I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, what is our goal for this movie? Is it to find salvation? Is it to just survive? And it isn't until we get introduced to Frank and Hannah and they share the radio frequency. It's like, okay, so that is what our arc of this movie is going to be, is to find salvation, to find something. And I was like, okay.
Well, that's like Selena's too, is she ends up finding something more to live for.
Yeah.
And that's why she has the breakdown, which I thought was a really great scene.
Yeah.
It was just her. She's having this whole moment, and it's because she finally kind of started seeing hope again, and then it was taken from her.
Oh, yeah. And that's where, our main, so we have like, and they use the idea of like the zombies aren't the main conflict. The rage virus is the overarching world conflict, but that's not what our characters' main conflicts are. The conflicts is survival, salvation, and then once salvation is found, it's flipped on its head, and it then is taken from them because now the real conflict is now the men, and who are the real monsters because they have the consciousness to not do this,
be monsters, but they're choosing.
choosing to be monsters.
Yeah,
and therefore that, and then the arc of overcoming that and surviving all of that. That's our movie.
Yeah.
So overall, it's like it's a really good movie for that.
Yeah.
My brain, I think I had more of a completed thought for all of that, but I just kind of summed it all up there. But the ovaries of Dutch Angles, man, let me fucking tell you, that was like, I get it. It's an uneasy movie. We're in an uneasy environment. Fucking just tone it down, man. It's like, what, we're watching Battlefield Earth right now?
This made
Jesus
me want to
Christ.
play Days Gone.
I see that. Yeah.
I just remember the remaster just came out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it needed a remaster. It's not that old.
Okay. What do you want to give it?
A 3.
I'd give it a 3.5, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it's even though like I was like, I would rather watch Night of the Living Dead, blah, blah, blah. I think overall this is a really well-crafted, done movie.
So you're down to watch the sequel?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then a 3.5.
Yeah.
Because again, this is one of my, this is up there with Train to Busan. And
Yeah.
My favorite.
I mean, yeah, there is questions left to be had, and you are correct in saying like they could have like worked on making it more clear in we don't need the spoon feeding from the colonel or the major at the end about like, well, they still have functions, blah blah blah. But the inconsistency of the kid saying "I hate you," and there's not many others that like have that almost sentience around them still, unless maybe that kid just turned or some shit, and who knows? That's why it's like, I hate you. Anakin, I hate you. You are the chosen one.
You are my brother. Yeah, I mean, there's inconsistencies. I think that brings it down, but it's also like I was saying. I think it gets the bump up because this it's building an interesting world.
And Jim's like character jumps are kind of jarring. Yeah,
jarring to say the least.
Yeah, incongruent, but overall, like when it comes to thematics for like zombie horror in general and just commentary on the human nature, I think this movie's pretty good.
Well, it just does interesting.
Well, it's also the folly of man because the beginning of it, of the environmentalists that are like, we got to free the chimps.
Even though the doctor's like, that's a terrible idea.
No, don't. They're infected. It's very deadly. Like, don't do this. Like, I know what you're trying to do, but don't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the folly of man for sure. Yeah, 3.5. I think so. Yeah. We don't know what we're doing next week.
Not 100%. No, and we'll figure that out. It could be something. Like, I'll try to think about something that you haven't watched.
Yeah,
that I really like. Maybe Maverick. Maybe I was thinking about that.
Top Gun.
No. Maverick. Mel Gibson. Jodie Foster. Cowboy. Western.
Oh.
Gambling. Comedy Western.
Mel Gibson, huh?
Mel Gibson.
Is that what you want to go? Good old Mel Gibson.
I like Mel Gibson.
I do too, but a lot of people don't, and I understand why.
I feel like he's done the steps.
And on that note, our two Connect the Stars were Lucy Liu and Maggie Gyllenhaal.
All right, let's do it.
Cool. He's done the steps. Oh boy.
He's still getting movie roles every now and then, which is, says a lot. Maybe more about like how Hollywood tries to ignore things.
Yeah,
but
I was like,
he was hardcore canceled for a second, for like a couple of years.
I think that says more about Hollywood just not being able to let go.
The Beaver.
That movie was cool. He's doing that.
That's his redemption arc.
He's in little wacky stuff now.
Okay. Lucy Liu to Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yep.
We gave this a 3.5.
Yes, this was episode, what was it, 246?
I think it's 246, 245, yeah.
246, review of 28 Days Later. And
I hope if you guys, if you go and see 28 Years, I hope you enjoy it.
yeah,
I hope you did enjoy it if you watched it last night.
give it a rating. Let us know what you think of it.
Yeah. Let us
Out
know
of
if we
5.
should go see it.
Yeah, out of 5 carrots, how many carrots would you give it? Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. You'll see our promos when we finally figure out what we're doing next week.
Yeah.
And there's our link tree. And on our link tree is where all of our episodes are, whether it be Spotify, Apple, YouTube. There's video of this if you'd rather watch. That is all, I believe. This is Tommy.
This is Jacob.
This is Tommy and Jacob's Mixtape.